Hey now, welcome to the Refreshing Thoughts podcast. I am your host, Chris Fresh, and we are here to talk. I keep doing we. I am here to talk toys, life, geeky things. Sounds like a Geek Dudes episode, but it's just me. We'll have guests at some point soon. I think I'm figuring out this StreamYard thing and you know me. Oh, maybe you don't know me. There's a lot of new listeners to hear, but if you've listened to Geek Dudes and stuff, I'm overly open and overly sharing, and I have been very Patreon adverse. I feel it's not rock and roll to ask your listeners for money if you're not going to offer them anything great in return. Hey, give me some money and here's the show. A lot of people have discords. I'm a Patreon to like Geek Dad Life and Yes Have Some and Toy Power and DBG don't charge for their Discord, but I'm a Patreon there. You occasionally get boobs, not a bad thing. Toy Galaxy. Now that I'm thinking about it, maybe one too many Patreons. But they offer things like Discords and exclusive shows and stuff, and I've always been against it. But this StreamYard thing is a tricky one. It's really expensive. And I think I want to continue using StreamYard to do my video recordings. And it's going to cost a lot of money a month. And the the easy solution to that would be to sell my collectibles, and I don't really want to do that. I love my collectibles. That's why I'm here and why I'm podcasting about it. Or another option would be to have a Patreon and hopefully get a couple of people that would chip in $5 a month, and I put that towards the cost of StreamYard. I always talk about Geek Dudes and Hey Hey, it's the podcast I've been running. I've paid for their hosting on Libsyn. I'm now on Transistor FM. I have lost a lot of money doing that. Um, and, I'm prepared to do that with refreshing thoughts because I enjoy doing it. But I'm not here to open the show shilling for money. I'm just the one thing you're going to learn about Chris Fresh is I'm a stream of consciousness. I just talk and I'm just thinking and I'm just talking to you. It's a bit of a bonus episode. I recorded an episode earlier where I talked about the Epic Toys Wrestling Megastars, and that actually led me to what I was going to talk about. I'll be honest, I'm almost in podcast, having a bad day, bad mental health day. Didn't particularly feel that I could podcast or videocast or whatever, toy tube, whatever you want to call this, naturally without it feeling contrived or forced, or you know what I mean, like I'm trying to make something happen when there's nothing there. But as my mood eventually settled, it was like I think it would be good for me. I enjoy creating, and this might not be a long one, but I thought I'd have a chat. And what I was going to talk about was a phenomena I experienced on the first Refreshing Thoughts video podcast, and that was I opened the toys and talked about them as I opened them, and I found it actually gave me more of an appreciation for them. And I enjoyed them more. I I don't know if that makes sense, but because I'm a terrible reviewer. Like if you're watching this for my review, I'm no expert, right? I am a collector. I always say I'm trying to impress 10-year-old me with everything I've got. Um, if you want discussions of articulation and poses and how everything's going to go, I'm probably not your guy. If you look at the toys behind me, I recently Kmart's got these Godzilla figures by Bandai. How cool are they? Can you believe Kmart? You can just walk into Kmart. Yeah, Kmart still exists in Australia. They're just on the shelf. Bandai Godzilla figures. But I just put them in pose and I just stand them there. They stand with their arms by their side and they're little soldiers. I've got this little Slimer on my desk. You can tell I have set up a desk Picked up a desk off Facebook Marketplace. Fuck you, Zuckerberg, but used your marketplace. And I've just got a bit of a nicer space. I got some feedback that the table I was using, which was really shitty, it was rocking and stuff like that. So I wanted a bit of a nicer space. It feels good. I apologize about the hat. I know Digital Beard would be going, oh, but lighting and your face is up, but who wants to look at my face? The only nice thing I have, I'm told I've got pretty eyes, but there's big bags under them. I'm not a good looking person. That's why I've always done audio podcasts. But you're not here for looks, you're here for toy talk. But yeah, what I found was when I opened the toys, I was like, oh wow, like the detail on them is really cool. And, oh, they move like this, and this one looks like this. And a lot of you would be going, well, duh. But what I'm saying is, well, I consume so many toys. I wish I could show you my toy room without destroying everything. Hang on, let me try. This is crazy what I'm about to do. I'm going to unhook the camera and I'm going to move it around. All right, there's a bit of He-Man. That's where we're going to be recording. Geek dudes out there, like X-Men, Spawn. If I come around, there's Ghostbusters. So more Masters of the Universe sort of there. Brave Star, I'm terrified about 3030 being up there. But you come around here, you've got the Turtles sort of in the corner. There's Bret Hart, my hero. And a lot of wrestling stuff. There's my Hasbro's, sort of goes up there. And then we've got this desk. Look, there's me. And I've probably balls this up now. No, I think I've got it. I buy a lot of stuff, or I have collected a lot of stuff over the years, and you have a tendency to just open it and add it to the pile. I'm guilty of that. And am I truly enjoying it if I do that? But what if, when something comes in, rather than just ripping it open and adding it to the pile, what if I just do it on camera and talk to you about it, talk to you about my experience of this purchase that I've made and that I'm opening it and how I feel about it? Do I still feel the same now that I'm opening it as I did when I bought it? Was it about the hunt? Is it about what it's going to add to my collection? How do I? Is it a legacy figure? Is it something I'm going to get rid of? I don't know. I think it could be a cathartic experience for a collector. Maybe I'll Marie Kondo some of the stuff that I get, and I'll feel it and go, no, and move it on. Now, I hate selling stuff. I hate dealing with people. I hate being lowballed. I hate sending stuff, which is funny if you knew where I worked. I work in wrestling, but I have a real job because it's very hard to make a living in professional wrestling. So yeah, I don't know. I think it could be a good thing. What do you think? I love asking people questions. Like you're doing you're doing a job for me. And the funny thing is, what I was thinking is a bonus I could offer for a Patreon is if you subscribe to my Patreon, ask me anything, and I'll exclusively answer your questions. You know, you could ask me about toys. You could ask me about movies and pop culture. You could ask me about politics. You could ask me about religion. You could ask me about the world in general. I'd prefer you ask me about toys and geek stuff because, you know, that's what's brought us all together. You could ask me about professional wrestling. Somebody on the Toy Point Power Discord was saying, they'd like to ask me more about my time in professional wrestling. Maybe you don't give a shit about professional wrestling and you're more interested about my toys, but that's the beauty of this. Um, uh, my life is an eclectic mix of experiences, and you know, I I enjoy that you checking me out. Some people would laugh. Geek Dad Life, I think, has 20,000 subscribers, and he goes live, and there's thousands of viewers. and I hit 100 views on my first video, and I was so excited. And I don't expect every video to even get 100 views, but the fact that people, and most of my family is dead, so I can't even thank them for the views. But the fact that people took the time to watch my content was really cool. I did want to make one thing clear, and I'm not sure that I did. I talked about the figures from Epic Toys and Go Figure Collectibles, and it may have made it sound like they were given to me for a review. They weren't. I bought them. Jeff's never given me anything. Great guy, love Jeff. I'm a customer of Jeff's. I was given something once. Dirty Uncle Mitch and Jonesy and I, we felt like kings. In 2014, we went to the Australian Toy Fair. Geek Dudes had been up and running for 2 years. And it was like, I wonder if we emailed them and claimed we were journalists, would they let us in? And sure as shit, we got media passes. And Ryan Dole, the great Bill Dolberg himself, Ryan Dole would be impressed because I wore a shirt and dressed up for the occasion because it's an industry show. It's not like a collectibles fair. Like I'm going to the Malvern Vintage Hobby and Toy Fair this Sunday. It's an awesome fair. Brett Owen is coming down. Him and Sarah do the Adelaide Comic and Toy Fair. I wish I could go, but there's a lot of life going on this year and a lot of expenses. So we won't be able to make this one, but they're coming down here. Maybe I can trick Brett into coming on cam with me. That sounds filthier than I expect it to be, but you know what I meant. But anyway, I'm going to the Malvern Toy Fair. Those guys, we know each other visually. There's two guys there that look like they run it, but I'm terrible because I'm an awkward person, so I feel weird going up going, "Hey, I'm Chris Fresh." I'm not like the Sizz Dog. The Sizz Dog, the Sizzler, Big Sizzlarky, loves it. Go up there, nostalgia button. He's come to my house and recorded my collection. Sizz will just do that. Well, I'll quietly go, and thank you for having me. But those guys are great. Their fair is great. If you're in Melbourne, I highly recommend going to check it out. I actually prefer the Melbourne one to their big one. Always a good time. There's always this one dude. I've lost my train of thought. There's always this one dude that's got a Galoob Sting in orange trunks and the G.I. Joe of William Refrigerator Perry. Now, I want the fridge because he was one of the NFL players in the WrestleMania 2 Battle Royal. And I've got some G.I. Joe. Look, I block it, but there's G.I. Joe there. I've got a Sergeant Slaughter shelf. That's a discussion that I'll get into one day as well. To resin Sergeant Slaughter, or do I try and get the fake LJN Hasbro Sergeant Slaughter for my Sergeant Slaughter shelf? What am I, made of money? But that's for a discussion for another time. But there's this one guy, and he's always got this stuff, and he really won't come down in price. And the great Colin Betts was going, "What's he asking for?" And we looked at it, and it's not unreasonable what he's asking. The joints are a little loose on the G.I. Joe because I'm trying to collect for Street Fighter G.I. Joes. I love the Jada toys. And there was a guile sitting in a bag, and rookie mistake by me. I just picked up the bag and said how much, and it was a great price. And I bought him, and he's all loose and barely stands. I've got him standing and leaning against something. So the fridge was a little loose. I'm pretty sure the fridge probably would have got a little loose back in the day as well. I'm winking a lot on this. Maybe it's for new medication. No, that makes me drool. That's another story for another mental health podcast. I hear Julian James going, "Oh, it's." He always says, when there's a certain podcast that I do, and it's like a very special episode, like I used to have in the '80s, where Willis would be on drugs or something on Different Strokes. I am on drugs, but legal drugs. Funny thing is, I got drug tests at work today, and got a negative. Couldn't believe it. Like, because the prescription stuff I'm on, I should pop positive. I got a negative. I was like, that's impressive. Like everybody, I walked out and everybody was like, that's impressive, which is very funny. True story. but yeah, it's funny. I looked down as I told that story, and this face was looking at me. It's like Slimer was laughing at me. It's like I've got an audience of one. That's a great Slimer figure. It's funny with Slimer. Look, I'm all over the place this episode. I apologize. Movie Slimer is iconic, but to me, my Slimer is the real Ghostbusters Slimer. So thank you to Alex Brewer and the team at Mondo. I will have one very soon. Um, yeah, so this guy, he's always at the fair. I I just don't know that I can bring myself. Like we've gotten to the point now; it's almost hostile. There's like this guy, the handsome devil, bit of a Mark Silvestri vibe. He's got a whole heap of Toy Fair magazines and stuff, and every time I go up and I say how much, and he gives me his price, and I'm like, "Can you do any better?" And he goes, "No." And every time the same magazines are still sitting there, and it's like this Sting and this refrigerator Perry is going to be sitting there, and it's like, bruh, what are you doing? Like, what? Like, I'm not trying to rip you off. I will pay a fair price, but what is this dance that we're doing? You know, like, don't you want it in my collection? Like, I'll even give you a thank you. Sorry about the dog. The neighbor's dog's obviously angry at me podcasting. Um, I'll even give you a shout out. We'll shake hands like this. We'll get a photo like the Mega Powers. We will say thank you that we finally did this deal. The dude with the Sting, the Gloob Sting, and it's a UK exclusive, and the refrigerator Perry, he has some cool LJN stuff. Like you don't, like I've got the giant Hogan and Piper and stuff, but he's got them in box. Like it is impressive. Looking forward to seeing Lucas at Fig Exchange. He had the Sergeant Slaughter, and I remember saying to him, "Oh, that's rad, dude. And that's a great price. Like people don't even know what you've got." And I wish I had the money to get it at the time. Like I feel maybe that was my shot and I missed it. Um, I have no idea where I was going. Like now I'm going to be going, how could I possibly ask anybody to pay Patreon money to pay for StreamYard to host this? I guess the advantage I can say is I could have Frank Allen. I could have Trent Cucurelli. I could have Davey Damaged. I could have Ben Sachs. I could have that Scotty. I could have Brett Owen. I could have the Toy Power guys on. I could very politely ask some of the American guys to come on. They'd probably go, "You got 100 viewers and we're celebrating. We're not going on your show. Like we don't need to give you a boost. Like Quip would be too big for me now." But I'd love just to chat to people because I enjoy hearing people's stories. What made them collectors? What are they collecting? How are they collecting? I I, I I feel one thing I'm not bad at is conversation. One of my favorite stories is Davey Damage of Dave's Video Graveyard. Dave and Casey have an amazingly funny podcast at their best when they review movies. Wink, wink, Davey. There I go winking again. Um, Davey finally got to come on Geek Dudes, and it was almost like a "This Is Your Life" because I'm genuinely fascinated by Davey's origin story, and I think he was a little bummed out because he wanted me to do dick and fart jokes, and there were dick and fart jokes. It was Geek Dudes, but I don't know that that's the experience he wanted. But if I was going to have people on, I want to talk about their collecting journey. Like, yeah, we can talk news and stuff. Like anybody can talk news, right? I can talk about WonderCon and all the amazing stuff, and probably on Geek Dudes we'll do a bit of that. Sorry we didn't record last week. There's been some scheduling flipping. We're recording this Friday. I could talk about that stuff, but if you go back and listen to it, does it really mean anything to you? Not really. It's old news. The figures are out. You've got them. You had them. You sold them. I don't know. Like there is something to talk about the excitement of the news, I guess, but I don't really think I'm a news show. I will talk about stuff that made me excited, I guess. Coming out of WonderCon, Super Shredder, pretty cool. Looking at the Mondo stuff, Mondo and Jaded Toys. One thing I will say, because you're going to hear me bang on about it forever, Jaded Toys are doing a Frosty the Snowman. I am a lover of Christmas. It makes me happy. I know it's cool for a lot of people to say they don't like Christmas and not that. Not me. The lights make me happy. I love Christmas music. I put up my tree at the very start of November because what's the point of all that effort if I'm only going to have it up for a few weeks? It's there till New Year's. Christmas makes me happy. If I think of childhood and I think of fond memories, I'm not going to get into the old poor me, life was hard. But fond memories are waking up Christmas morning and getting toys that I wouldn't normally get. A lot of my toys, Americans would call them flea markets. Do the UK say car boot sale? Do you say flea market? We say trash and treasure. But I'd go there and I'd get my pocket money, and that's how I'd get my toys. So Christmas was when, like a lot of people's, I'd get a big ticket item. I got Ecto one year. That meant a lot to me. I got famously, all I wanted was Castle Grayskull. Yeah, you're going to hear the Castle Grayskull story again. So, Castle Grayskull was my white whale, and there was a kid called Clint, older boy, and he said, "I'll trade you my Castle Grayskull for every single toy you have." And I said, "Hot damn, that's a good deal." So in the shadows, I grew up in the Housing Commission, which is like the housing projects of West Heidelberg in Melbourne, in the Olympic Village. It's called the Olympic Village because Melbourne hosted the Olympics in 1956. They then turned the Olympic Village housing into government housing. And that's where I grew up. So a lot of poor people, a lot of terrible people in there too. But things can always be worse. Anyway, I do this big trade. Mum and Dad walk in and they see me happily with Castle Grayskull. No He-Man or Skeletor to put in it because I've traded them away, but Castle Grayskull. And I'm the happiest I've ever been. So happy. And I'm sorry if me moving away from the mic is causing issues. Jay Harps will let me know how bad of a job I did of it. And Jay, I appreciate every criticism you give me because I need help. Anyway, hopefully the Yeti picked it up because it seems to pick up every other background noise. Anyway, wrapped. I've got Castle Grayskull, look, king of the world. And Mum and Dad go, "You got taken advantage of, son. That's a terrible job." And I had the horror of Mum making me go to his parents and the swap back of, Mum went and your son has taken advantage of my little boy and they're swapping back. I'm sure he kept a few, but we had to swap it back. So, I'm stuck with my toys and no Castle Grayskull. So it comes to Christmas. And I still believe in Santa. And if you don't believe me, just on this, as I'm telling this story, on my phone, I have an app called Sleeps to Christmas that plays Christmas music and tells me how many sleeps it is to Christmas. I even bought the pack so I can have different characters. Snowman, Elf, Gingy, Fairy, Reindeer, Jack Frost, and Penguin. Um, there's 267 sleeps in Australia to Christmas, just for those asking. Anyway, there's a Castle Grayskull size box under the tree, wrapped. And I've gone, this is it. Yes. And you're opening up. And I'd always get He-Man figures at Christmas, which was really cool. Got a lot of Hordak stuff. I'm a big Hordak fan. Loved Hordak. Ripping open. I think maybe Hurricane Hordak was in there. Open up, and then it's like, here's the main event, baby. Let's go. And I rip open and see Snake Mountain. Now, don't get me wrong. Snake Mountain, love it. Got the Super 7 one. Got the Mattel reissue. Got the vintage one. Nothing wrong with Snake Mountain.
Love talking to the microphone. It sounds like this.
Love it all. Nothing wrong with Snake Mountain. But no kid wants Snake Mountain without Castle Grayskull. I never got Castle Grayskull. Oh, I got Castle Grayskull because when I earned money, I bought bloody 3 of them. I think I own 3 Castle Grayskulls. But yeah, I never got it. Famously got Snake Mountain. And can you imagine the thanks Santa, Like, it was a hard Christmas. But what a little brat. Like, my parents did not have a lot of money. My dad, although he was a piece of shit, so much so that I have legally changed my name away from his surname to Fresh. In case you're wondering, Chris Fresh is my legal name. Um, but he was a storeman for a packing company called Gadsden's. They made the Ghost in the Can. If you've ever seen that, I've got some Ghost in cans. But he worked hard to give mum money to get me presents, and I've got older siblings. I'm the baby, and I think they helped out. But my parents were very poor. Both suffered from what was called manic depression back then, bipolar now. Something I suffer from. I'm not afraid to talk about it. And yeah, it was hard for them. So for them to get me things like Ecto One or Castle Grayskull, that was a big deal. Oh, not Castle, Snake Mountain. It was a big deal, and you know, I'm thankful for it. But it is a funny story of that's all I wanted, and you rip it open, and it's just the classic Christmas story of it's not what you wanted. But I tell you what, when I got that Mattel Classics Castle Grayskull because around 2011, the Australian dollar might have been a bit earlier. My times might be out. It was a parity with the US dollar. In fact, it was a little bit better, and shipping wasn't so bad. And that Castle Grayskull was going for really cheap, so I was able to get Castle Grayskull. I've got Snake Mountain, the Thundercats lair. I could fit it in my new room, but I don't have the money for it. Unless Pop Culture would like me to review it for them, send one through. I'll give it a hell of a review. I say I can't review. Send me that Cat Slayer. You watch me review that Pop Culture. Maybe I need to stop rocking back from the mic. I apologize if it's screwing with the audio. Now, this is going longer than I was expected. I think it's been therapeutic. It's been good for me to talk. But yeah, in case you're wondering why an Aussie's wearing a New York hat, I go for New York Giants in the NFL, but I don't really follow the NFL. I follow the Knicks, I follow the Rangers, and I follow the Yankees. And you might wonder, why all New York teams, Chris? Well, I was a young wrestling fan, and you were taught that Madison Square Garden was the Mecca. As Bret Hart once said, it's not a church, but it is holy ground. And because the WWF was so New York centric, I just went for New York teams. But yeah, and I'm wearing Mike Altamura's jacket. He's a boxing promoter and a good friend. And thank you for the jacket, Mike. And I'm wearing a Shredder shirt from Never Die. That once again, the only thing I've been gifted was Mike's jacket. I am a shill for Mike's jacket. There, that's what I was telling the story. What a mess I am. I was telling the story of the only free thing we got given. What an idiot. I've looped back around. This show's a mess. So Mitch, Jonesy, and I, we go to the toy fair and we don't know what we're doing. And we get in there. And little did we know you're meant to book appointments with these places or they're not going to talk to you, right? So we go to talk to Hasbro and they go, "Do you have an appointment?" I'm like, "Oh, a baking powder?" They squeeze me. And it's like, "No, sorry, not seeing you." And, there were a couple of smaller companies like, "Yeah, they'll show you through." But then Lego were there and Lego's about to release the Lego movie. And I said, and I'm not a Lego person. I hate building toys. And I especially applying decals, which nothing to do with Lego, but I'm just saying I always rag on Lego. It's Lego, not Lego. Anyway, they go, "Come on through." So I come on through, and they gave us a free Lego keychain. And I tell you, we felt like kings. Felt like kings. They treated us great, and I respected Lego for that. They treated us great. We didn't have an appointment. They didn't have to do that, but I appreciated that. Maybe next year is something we should do. We should make appointments. I think Culture Shock Collectibles and a few of the smaller Aussie retailers do go to that. I should maybe ask them. I should maybe ask Jeff at Go Figure. What's the process with that? Head Start Toys gave me pizza once when they were unveiling the Mutant Mayhem action figures, and they said, "Did anybody want to come down?" And Geek Dudes was on hiatus because I was going through some stuff, but I'll go down and rep Toy Power. And because they're in Adelaide, they can't go down there. So I went down there, and they gave pizza. But what I noticed was there's this shithead that runs this Facebook group about the turtles, right? This dude, I shouldn't do this, but I can't help myself. He thinks he's a celebrity, and that he carries himself. He walks around with toy fairs like he's King Dick, and look, he's been polite to me. It's just something about him. I'm not a fan. They gave him a figure. Him. He's not a celebrity. He inherited a Facebook group. Like, what? They gave him a figure. What about the old freshness? Brought my lady friend down there. Brought Jessie down. No, nothing fresh. I now emailed Head Start, and all I wanted to know was, hey guys, came down once, just wondering, will Ray Fillet be coming out in Australia because he's the one mute animal that hasn't been released? Didn't even get a response. They've really turned on me. I'm blaming that dude from the Facebook page. He probably badmouthed me to Head Start. No, I kid. Head Start did treat us good. I just didn't get a free figure. But what was cool was there was a guy that was working there, and this is what I loved. Loved it. I felt privileged to see this. He used to work for Hasbro back in the day, and he had what he believes was one of the first Optimus Primes in Australia, like the toy. And he had this big resin Batman from Batman the Animated Series that they were using as a prototype to take around to fairs and stuff. Like, to me, that's toy history. That was so cool. But they still gave that other dude a figure, and me nothing. Not letting it go. I'm a petty man. But if you have a Facebook page, you're not a celebrity. Okay, I go out there in the wrestling ring. I entertain hundreds of people. I've had somebody buy my 8x10 for $50 signed. Look, that person was crazy. I thought it was funny. Everybody's selling their merch. I said, and I've got a terrible year 12 photo. And I said, I'm going to blow up my year 12 photo. I'm going to autograph it. And I'm going to put the ridiculous price of $50. And I'm going to put it on the merch table. And the poor girls selling merch, they're just looking at this idiot that one of the guys that runs this place, this was at MCW at the time, MCW 100 it was. And I'm moving other wrestlers' t-shirts out of the way that fans actually want. I put my year 12 photo down there with my autograph. I put the price $50. And somebody buys one. Right, true story. And I almost felt embarrassed. And then he's posting on social media, look at me with my Chris Fresh photo that I've spent $50 on. What a lovely guy. So anyway, Okada wrestled for us. He was the IWGP champion at the time. And part of Okada's entrance was shooting money. And we got Australian $100 bills made up, but with Okada's face on it. So it was unique. Shooting money. And New Japan go, no, you can't do that. No. We go, good. We didn't do it anyway. And Okada signed a few of them. And what I did was I messaged him and I said, can you come see me at the show? And he came and saw me at the show. Don't tell Mikey J I did this because I'd get in trouble. And I handed him the autographed Okada note. And I said, never buy something silly like my 8x10 ever again, but thank you very much. You're very nice, man. And the money that I got, I gave to the girls working the merch table. But it was just funny. But that sort of stuff does not lead you to getting a free figure. I'm a terrible shill. Like, my whole goal of doing this is to become a shill. I hear Hado, like, he's trying to get on a shill list with Jada and Mondo. I very much would like that. Mondo, please. Your stuff won't ship here. You have no idea what the shipping is going to be on the Mondo Turtles. It's distressing. If you happen to send them, like, I'll talk about you for a month long stream. I won't even wash. I'll set up a wee bowl and a poo bowl. I'll just sit here and I'll just talk about it forever. No, I'm kidding. That's not why I do this. I'm doing this because I love toys. And I'm rambling because I've had a bad day and I'm tired and I thought it would be fun to put out some content, and that's what I've done. I would like to thank every single person that has shared the show, promoted it, watched it. Um, it's helped, it really has. Like, I've gotten a bit of a following already, and I don't expect a following. Like, Geek Dudes and Hey, it's a podcast have decent followings. I don't expect just because the host of those shows is doing his own thing that everybody's going to start watching it and listening to it. But I appreciate everybody that did. I'm pretty sure the next time I do this, that little duck that you're seeing up there, is going to go because I'm going to pay for StreamYard. A Patreon may pop up. Don't hold it against me. Yes, I'm a sellout, but it's expensive. And Jessie told me, she goes, "You're crazy not to think about doing it." And I don't expect anybody to, like, if nobody does, great. If two people do, well, I guess it's $10 less towards StreamYard that I have to pay. But yeah, I appreciate everybody. Most of all, well, not most of all, but I definitely appreciate The Shine. The Shine are the band whose music you hear in the intro. Julian James, Benny Mino, two very good friends of mine. They have an awesome rock and roll band called The Shine. You can find them everywhere, The Shine Worldwide, because there's probably a million things called The Shine. So if it's called The Shine Worldwide, the song's called The Heads Are Gonna Roll. I use the big band version. They've got many awesome tracks, and I have heard that they're working on more. I'd wink, but I'm self-conscious about it now. They're working on more music, but it's rock and roll, and it's cool. And Julian James is who I want to be when I grow up. He is one cool dude, and Benny Mino is a very handsome man. And they are, along with Mikey, we are the nucleus that is Wrestle Rock, along with Corkor and the Corner Hotel. And I'm proud to be friends with them and to collaborate with them, much like I am with Jonesy and Mitch. As much as I can have bad days and bitch about life, I'm fortunate in a lot of ways too, and that's never lost on me. Um, I've got children that I love very much that drive me crazy. I'm surrounded by things that make me happy and are a part of my identity. And if you had have told me when I was a little kid that I would work in professional wrestling for 25 plus years, I wouldn't have believed you. Actually, I might have and said, "Oh, am I going to have the Winged Eagle title and stuff?" And the funny thing is, I do. I just didn't win it. I really got to stop doing that with the camera. I apologize. It's probably causing chaos. How's my framing now? I've screwed up my framing, haven't I? Owen? Digital Beard would be telling me off about this. Anyway, I don't even know why I'm bothering with that because I'm wrapping up the show. Thank you for listening to Refreshing Thoughts. You would be doing me a great favor if you click like and subscribe. How's that? Like and subscribe. I wish I could get an animation coming up going ding ding. I'll figure that out. And subscribe to my socials at Refreshing Thoughts Pod on Instagram and Facebook, and share the word. I would love it. It's a very silly show. I understand. It's all over the place. It's just a strange Australian man rambling. But I am Chris Fresh, and I love stuff, and I still haven't figured out like a seamless way of ending the show because my mouse goes to sleep. I think I need a new mouse. Are there mice that don't? Is it mouses? Are there mice that don't go to sleep? There has to be. I don't know. I'll figure it out. Thanks for listening, or watching. Saxy's listening. The rest of you watching.